The franchise has been through several ups and downs ever since Star Wars first started, though many fans claim that most downs started when George Lucas sold the franchise over to Disney. But Andor is changing things quite a bit, and for the better. Not just that, but fans think that the Andor star Diego Luna would make a great Zorro. Let's take a deeper look at it, starting with, what does Diego Luna think of Andor? While the actor may at first have been doubtful about coming back as Cassian Andor, his character from Rogue One, for a show talking about the rebellion against the Empire, he's sure thrilled he did it. In an interview with Vulture, the actor talked about how he feels about the show and some information about what the show was trying to talk about. He started by talking about how proud he and the entire team were of their accomplishments with the show. Despite that, he doesn't try to think about it too often because of constant reminders from the fan base. He says that ultimately, the number of people, attention, and expectations around a show from Star Wars can confuse and mislead us, he admitted to Vulture. From the start, he and Tony Gilroy, the show's showrunner, were hell-bent on making sure the show stuck to what Andor was about. That meant they couldn't let expectations from fans, requirements from Disney, the franchise's lore, and all other external elements come in between their story and creative mission. Moving on to being in a galaxy far, far away, Diego Luna continued to say that during the show's production, they always reminded themselves that it has truly felt like it's happening. Forget being in a galaxy far, far away, and the show had to feel as close to them as home, like they were taking a look at their neighbor's life. The show's incredible response from fans and critics alike has been incredible for the actor. Reading through people's reactions as they celebrate the show for the same reasons he worked on it was a treat for him. Of course, he wanted to make a grounded and realistic show for the franchise, something more complex and mature. The team would always try to go in deeper and ensure that all the characters stayed in gray areas as they tried to be their best version. To be honest about who they were, they had to realize who the audience was for Luna, including his family, especially his son and father. He thought of himself as a part of the audience and wanted to work on the show he wanted to see. The team constantly had to tell themselves that a massive chunk of people out there wanted to see this, and they weren't alone. While viewership for the first season started much slower than expected, the people who have seen it proved the actor's point that audiences wanted a much more adult show from the franchise. Next up, what is Andor supposed to be about? In November 2022, the show's showrunner Tony Gilroy was interviewed by Vulture as he talked about how the show connects events happening in it and real life. The journalist specifically talked about how the public order resentencing directive from the show was similar to the Patriot Act and paid homage to the issues over at Guantanamo Bay. In response to this, the showrunner talked about how the show is full of references to real-life politics. We could, for instance, point at these specific examples, but similar instances have happened in 3,000 years of recorded history as well. Even if we look at the Urgan, or talk about the Montagnards, the African National Congress, or even as far back as the Roman Revolution, we come across similar issues. People's sentences being changed, oppression, and fascism. We can date back to all of them. The things they're doing for Season 2 are much more pertinent, but having looked at several revolutions coming together and the political factions between them, there's one thing in common. There is never, well, rarely, just one forward motion. All kinds of people band together and move in different directions. That's a universal concept, according to the showrunner. Lastly, the story of a revolution. According to Luna in an interview with Vulture in November 2022, they're trying to tell all the story of how a revolution started, and if they started to avoid political talks in it, there wouldn't be much left of the show. He further talked about how the broad theme means that the show could talk about anything the viewer wants the show to refer to. The show's real meaning is in the eye of whoever is watching it, but it still manages to be universal. One of the main things it talks about is oppression, but it also talks about the context needed for a revolution to start. And that very context is always going on because humanity has a constant need for change. That's the beauty that comes with fiction, and it's an incredible tool to comment on life and reality itself. Even in the first few episodes, we see Cassian talk about how the Empire is fat and satisfied, and everyone watching can put a face to that description. No matter how removed a person is from what they see on screen, it will always talk about us. For Luna, the story talks about the things he cares about the most and the things that worry him the most. Fans want Diego Luna as Zorro. Coming up are previous versions of the character. Lately, there's been a lot of talk about a new reboot for Zorro. Some people have been discussing the possibility of a TV show for him. Still, others are excited about another film in which the original star, Antonio Banderas, hands down the mantle to a much younger actor. But who exactly could he pass it on to? A lot of fans think Diego Luna would make an incredible Zorro. Since 1919, Zorro, the famous swashbuckler, has been fading in and out of pop culture through multiple forms of media. But one thing has always stayed the same throughout all versions of the character, and he's always played by actors who have mastered the art of playing people with a certain air of mystery around them, but still managed a significant presence on the screen. While some old hardcore fans of the character are sure to think of Guy Williams as the person behind his mask, younger fans would much better remember Antonio Banderas' portrayal of the character from The Mask of Zorro from 1998. For a bunch of fans out there who grew up watching Williams' incredible Zorro, Banderas was more than just a worthy successor for the character on the big screen. Additionally, a new Zorro production. Recently, with the promise of a new production for the character, discussions have started about who will be portraying Zorro for a whole new generation of fans. While there are certainly a lot of names that can be mentioned for it, it's now more apparent than ever that Diego Luna will be an excellent choice for the role of Zorro. The actor has many characteristics that make him one of the most dynamic performers out there, who can take on a comedy and drama, making him an obvious choice for the role of the classic swashbuckling hero. The Mexican actor started his career on stage and later starred in several highly successful movies, such as Elysium and Utamama Tambien in 2001. Much more recently, though, he's gotten some critical acclaim from all over the industry because of his role in Andor, the latest Star Wars show. In Andor, Luna comes back in his role from Rogue One, arguably one of the best movies out of the Disney Star Wars era, though talks about him playing as the new Zorro are nothing new. Even back in 2013, infinite rumors were saying that he might be involved in a project regarding the character. While none of those rumors came true, they're much more likely to come to life this time. Finally, Banderas' pick. Especially now that the actor has turned into Star Wars' favorite poster boy, it would make the most sense, at least from a marketing perspective. Not only does he bring the skills needed for the role, but he is also super popular these days, so viewers will be able to recognize him as soon as he comes on screen. Though he isn't the only actor that could take the character's role in a future show or film, at least not according to one of the actors that played that very character. Antonio Banderas himself has talked about who he thinks should be the new Zorro, and it's truly a unique pick. Which actor does Banderas think would make an even better Zorro? It's none other than Tom Holland. The two have worked together on screen in the Uncharted live-action film, which could explain why he thinks Holland is a better option. Still, fans think Luna would make a much better choice, and could be one of the best portrayals of the character out there. He's the obvious choice in both his skills and looks. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts about the show? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.